I'm Xhdata. Chinese President Xi Jinping has replied to a letter from steelworkers in the Serbian city of Smederevo. He said the development of the Smederevo steel plant is a vivid example of high-quality joint construction of the Belt and Road Initiative. The Chinese president encouraged the workers to make new contributions to China-Serbia ties. The reply letter comes ahead of President Xi's scheduled state visit to Serbia next week. Aliosa Milenkovic reports.
This is my fourth or fifth time here since 2016 when I was covering the visit of President Xi Jinping to Serbia and this steel mill. And the change is unprecedented. From an almost bankrupt and dilapidated factory where thousands of jobs were on the verge of being lost, this company grew to be one of the most important contributors to the Serbian GDP. More investments have been made to improve infrastructure, sustainability, and workers' welfare over the past 8 years. In the meantime, the HBIS Serbia has accumulated over $6.5 billion since its establishment.
China's recorded over 100,000 arrivals by French nationals since the beginning of the year. This is up nearly 300% compared to the same period last year. Primary reasons for the visits include business, tourism, and visiting relatives or friends. Authorities say China recorded over 200 million trips on the first day of the 5-day May Day holiday as the country's economic recovery gains momentum. The Chinese Transport Ministry says that's over 20% more than the same day last year. Road trips accounted for the majority. The railway network handled around 16 million trips. Meanwhile, authorities expect outbound tourist trips to hit a new high. Travelers have booked around 110,000 outbound flights, an increase of over 30% compared to last year. Yo Young reports.
The Chinese Transport Ministry has announced that, the passenger volume handled by the Qantas commercial transportation network could hit over 270 million trips over the course of the May Day holiday. And that's a daily average of more than 54 million, up more than 160% from 1 year ago. The latest information released by the ministry notes that on April 30th, cross-regional personnel flow in the country hit over 20 million, an increase of over 22% year-on-year, and also an increase of more than 37% compared with the pre-pandemic level. And passenger volume by railway was over 16 million, more than 6% growth year-on-year. In the civil aviation sector, passenger volume hit over 1.9 million, an increase of nearly 6% compared to pre-pandemic levels. And the number of outbound tourists is also set to hit a near 3-year high.
China National Space Administration says the Chang'e 6 lunar probe is scheduled for launch on May 3rd. The probe will lift off from the Wenchang Space Launch Center in Hainan. The probe is set to collect samples from the far side of the moon, marking a mission that'll be the first of its kind in human history. Authorities say the number of deaths has risen to 24 after a road cave-in on an expressway in South China trapped 20 vehicles. 30 people are in hospital. The cave-in happened on Wednesday morning in Meizhou, Guangdong Province. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has once again called on Hamas to accept what he calls a very strong ceasefire deal. He was speaking in Tel Aviv while meeting with the families of those captured by Hamas on October the 7th. The latest agreement includes a 40-day truce in exchange for the release of Hamas-held hostages. Blinken's wrapping up a wider tour of the Middle East in Israel. Speaking to Israeli President Isaac Herzog, Blinken said the U.S. is determined to get a ceasefire. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's pledged to launch a ground attack on Rafah to eliminate Hamas's battalions with or without a ceasefire. Brown University has reached an agreement with student protesters. They'll remove the encampment from school grounds in exchange for the institution considering divesting from Israel. Meanwhile, New York City police officers have marched onto the grounds of Columbia University to disperse pro-Palestinian demonstrators who forcibly occupied a campus building. Shanghai is ready to welcome athletes from around the world. With 2 weeks to go before the Olympic Qualifier Series Shanghai, organizers have released the music video for the event. Shanghai is the first stop for the Olympic Qualifier Series for the Paris Olympics 2024. 4 sporting categories, including BMX freestyle, sport climbing, breakdancing, and skateboarding, will see intense contests between May 16th and 19th. More than 400 athletes, including former Olympic champions, will arrive in the city to compete for their spot at the Paris Olympics this summer. And that's the news. I'm Xhdata.
Daily news and analysis. We keep you informed and inspired.
This is World Today.
Hello and welcome to World Today. I'm Jiang. Coming up, Palestinian factions Fatah and Hamas have met in China for talks on potential reconciliation. What contributions could China bring to the table? South Korea discusses joining part of the AUKUS pact with US, UK, and Australia. How might that impact regional security and stability? And Argentina's lower house approved Javier Milei's budget slashing bill. What's in this mega reform bill? Officials from Palestinian factions Fatah and Hamas have met in Beijing for talks on potential reconciliation. China says the two sides expressed political will to achieve reconciliation through dialogue and consultation. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said the two sides also made progress on many specific issues and agreed to continue dialogue to achieve Palestinian unity at an early date. For more, we are joined by Zhang Chuchu, Associate Professor and Deputy Director at the Center for Middle Eastern Studies at Fudan University. What do you make of the significance of this recent meeting between Fatah and Hamas in Beijing?
So first of all, I think different parties in the Middle East, they have trust in China, and they believe that China will play a neutral role and maintain international peace and international justice. And that is why you see that they hope to hold this kind of dialogue in Beijing rather than the other places of the world.
Well, Fatah and Hamas have previously engaged in talks facilitated by other countries like Russia. Then what unique contribution could China's involvement bring to the table?
So in my opinion, there are efforts conducted by Russia and the other parties in the past, of course. And right now, at the moment, China has played the mediation role. And I think this has some important implications because on the one hand, it means that regional actors, they should strive for strategic autonomy and they want to diversify their partners. And on the other hand, I think regional actors, they hope to bring in more regional actors, and they hope to welcome more parties to play constructive roles in international affairs. Because we know that in the past, international politics seems to be like the big power politics. But right now, more regional powers in the Middle East hope that more rising powers and actors in the global south can play an increasing role in international politics.
Yes, but given the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and also the deep-seated differences between Fatah and Hamas, what challenges do you foresee in achieving a meaningful reconciliation?